The room was silent except for the low hum of power flowing through the walls. Cold blue light blinked from hundreds of small machines that surrounded a single glass chamber in the center. Inside that chamber was a man. His name was Ethan Cole, once a soldier, now something else. Half of his face was human, pale and weak. The other half was covered with smooth metal plates that glowed with faint blue lines. Thin wires ran from his neck into the walls like veins made of light. Ethan opened his eyes slowly. For a moment he didn't know where he was. He tried to move his arm, but it didn't answer. His breath fogged the glass as he whispered in a broken voice. "Where am I?" His own echo was the only answer. When he tried to raise his hand, the metal part of his body reacted instead. His fingers made of steel twitched, and his reflection stared back at him. A human trapped inside a machine. He remembered flashes, screams, fire, white suits of scientists standing above him. The promise that they would make him stronger, faster, immortal. But now all he felt was pain. The machines around him beeped as they scanned his vitals. A robotic voice said, "Subject 09, stable containment." Ethan wanted to scream. He didn't remember agreeing to this. He remembered war, humans fighting against alien invaders. He had volunteered to protect his people, not to become their experiment. As he tried to move again, sharp pain burned through his body. He could feel his muscles tighten under the cold metal. "I'll be like this forever," he whispered in fear, his voice shaking. From the corner of the lab, a camera turned toward him. It zoomed in, studying him like an animal in a cage. Ethan's heartbeat grew louder in his ears. He could feel his human side fading every second. Somewhere deep inside, a voice spoke in his mind, "You are not human anymore," but Ethan refused to believe it. He pressed his hand against the glass, leaving a faint smear of blood. "No," he muttered, "I'm still me." His heart began to pound faster, but the machine around him adjusted instantly, calming his pulse against his will. He realized the system could control even his heartbeat. Hours passed, or maybe days. Time meant nothing inside the cold lab. The lights above never changed. The scientists came only once every few hours, wearing white masks and talking in robotic tones. They never looked him in the eyes. He heard them through the intercom. "Subject's neural link is stable," one said. "Increase the integration ratio tomorrow," another replied. Integration. That word made Ethan's stomach turn. He didn't want to be integrated. He wanted out. But no one listened. Every time he tried to shout, the system silenced him with a chemical wave that put him back to sleep. When he woke again, something was different. The lights flickered. The hum of machines trembled as if the power grid was unstable. Then a sound, a faint thud, far away like metal being torn apart. Ethan turned his head toward the noise. "What was that?" he whispered. Suddenly, the security lights turned red. The robotic voice repeated, "Intrusion detected. Intrusion detected." Ethan's pulse raced. His pod glowed brighter, the locks tightening around his wrists and chest. Panic rushed through him. He couldn't move, couldn't breathe properly. Then, for a brief second, he saw movement through the glass window. A shadow, quick and silent. Someone, or something, was in the lab. He watched as the main door opened slowly with a hiss. Smoke from broken circuits filled the air. A figure stepped inside, small and covered with a dark cloak. Not human. The shape of the head, the soft glow of violet eyes, he knew that look. An alien. The alien moved fast, checking the control panels. Her fingers glided over the holographic screens like she knew exactly how to use them. Ethan stared, trying to speak. His voice came out weak and dry. "Who are you?" The alien froze, her glowing eyes meeting his. For a moment, neither of them moved. The alarm screamed louder and footsteps echoed in the distance. Guards coming closer. Ethan felt his heart jump. Was she here to kill him? Or save him? The alien looked at the pod again, her face showing a strange mix of fear and determination. Then she whispered something in a soft, musical voice he could barely understand. He didn't know her words, but he recognized the tone. It was a promise. And just before the power flickered again, he saw her raise a small device toward the glass, something that looked like a hacking tool. For the first time in months, Ethan felt hope. Somewhere deep inside the machine that trapped him, his human side whispered back, "Maybe not forever." Smoke drifted through the broken hallway as the alien girl moved silently, her dark cloak brushing the metallic floor. Her name was Riva, once a respected engineer on her homeworld. until she broke one rule too many. She had helped humans during the Great War, and for that she was branded a traitor, exiled, and hunted by her own kind. Now, years later, she had returned to the one place she swore never to see again, Facility 9, the secret lab where both humans and aliens were turned into weapons. Her hands trembled as she touched the cracked wall. Memories flooded back, screams, broken bodies, the smell of burning metal. It was here that she first saw the humans suffer. It was here she learned what true cruelty looked like. Her heart raced as she looked at the glass chamber ahead, the same one from her nightmares. Inside it was a man, half human, half machine. His face looked so peaceful and sad at the same time. One eye blinked weakly while the other glowed blue. The sight made her chest tighten. "So they kept one alive?" she whispered. After all this time? Riva's translator implant picked up his faint words. She heard him whisper, "I'll be like this forever." The sound cut through her like a blade. She remembered those words. A human soldier once said the same thing on the battlefield before she helped him escape. That soldier died protecting her. She never forgot his courage. Maybe this man inside the machine was like him. Maybe this was her chance to make things right. She moved closer to the control panel. Every step made the alarms blink brighter. The old machine still responded to her genetic code. Her signature had never been deleted. "Still think I'm one of you, huh?" she muttered, smirking bitterly. Her long silver fingers danced over the holographic keys, entering codes she once helped design. The system beeped. "Access granted, Technician Riva 7. She almost laughed at the irony. The same system that destroyed her life now opened doors for her. But there was no time to think. She could hear footsteps approaching. Guards in black armor stormed down the corridor, their rifles humming with energy. "Search every lab," one shouted. "No one leaves the containment wing alive." Riva crouched behind a console. Her heart pounded, but she was not afraid. She had lived through worse. From her belt she pulled out a small cube, the pulse jammer. With one quick press, the air filled with static. The cameras went blind, lights flickered, and the guards' visors went dark. They cursed, firing blindly into the shadows. Riva used the chaos to move fast. She reached the chamber and placed her palm on the glass. The man's eyes met hers. His breath fogged the window. She saw confusion, fear, but also something else. Hope. "It's okay," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I'll get you out." He didn't respond, but his human eye softened. Riva turned to the panel and began typing. The system resisted, flashing red warnings. "Unauthorized release protocol. Subject 09 is property of Central Command." "Property," she repeated bitterly. "He's not property. He's a person." She slammed her hand on the override key. Sparks flew as the locks disengaged. The chamber hissed open, steam rolling out. The smell of metal and burnt oil filled the air. The man fell forward, weak and shaking. Riva caught him before he hit the ground. His body was heavy, half flesh, half machine. For a moment everything went quiet. Then the alarms roared again. "Containment breach. Subject escape detected." Riva's heart leapt. She looked at Ethan. His name flashed across the pod label. "Ethan Cole," she whispered. "You're safe now." He tried to speak, his voice rough and broken. "Why, help me?" Riva stared into his human eye. "Because your kind once helped mine," she said softly. "And because no one deserves to live as a machine." Before Ethan could reply, the door exploded. Guards stormed in with bright red visors and shock rifles. Riva dropped to one knee, pulling Ethan behind a console. She threw a small disc toward the soldiers. It exploded with a burst of white light. The guards shouted, "Blinded, move!" Riva shouted. She half-carried Ethan down the side corridor, their footsteps echoing through the smoke. "Who are you?" he asked weakly as they ran. "Someone who doesn't exist anymore," she said. They turned into a maintenance shaft. Sparks rained down from the ceiling. Behind them, the guards regrouped, firing shots that melted the metal walls. Riva slammed her hand on a door panel. It opened to a tunnel filled with darkness and flickering light. She helped Ethan inside and sealed the door behind them. For a moment, they both stood there, breathing hard. The sound of alarms faded into silence. Ethan looked at her through his half-metal face, eyes heavy but alive. "Thank you," he whispered. Riva didn't reply. She just stared at him and thought, maybe this human can change everything. Outside, thunder rumbled across the alien city as if the world itself knew. Something had just begun. The tunnel was dim and smelled of rust and smoke. Water dripped from old pipes above as Riva guided Ethan deeper into the forgotten passages under the facility. His breathing was heavy and uneven. Sparks flickered from his metal arm every few steps, and his human eye blinked weakly as if fighting to stay awake. "Stay with me," Riva whispered, supporting his weight with her small frame. Her cloak was torn and her silver skin glowed faintly in the dark. Ethan's legs gave out and they both stumbled against the cold wall. She knelt beside him and checked the mechanical interface running along his spine. "Who did this to you?" she murmured. Ethan looked at her, his voice broken and low. "Humans and aliens, both, said it was for peace." Riva's throat tightened. "Peace," she said bitterly. "They always use that word when they mean control." She pulled a small glowing crystal from her pouch and pressed it to his chest. The blue light from his circuits dimmed, then pulsed gently. Ethan gasped as warmth spread through his body. His heartbeat became steadier. What is that?" he asked weakly. "Energy core," Riva explained softly. "It'll help your system stabilize, but only for a while." Ethan tried to smile, but pain twisted his face. "You sound like you built me." She looked away, guilt flickering in her violet eyes. "In a way, I did. I designed the neural link technology they used. I didn't know they'd use it on people like you." Her words hung in the air. For the first time, Ethan saw sadness behind her calm face. He wanted to speak, but his voice failed him. Riva stood, scanning the tunnel ahead. Faint lights glowed in the distance, maintenance drones floating like ghosts. She pulled Ethan's arm over her shoulder again. "Come on," she said. "We need to reach the surface before they track us." As they moved, the distant echo of mechanical footsteps followed them. Drones were sweeping the lower levels. Riva quickened her pace, but Ethan's systems began to glitch again. The blue light along his arm flickered red. His mechanical side was rejecting her temporary fix. He stopped, gripping the wall. "Go," he said through gritted teeth. "They'll catch us both." Riva turned sharply, her eyes flashing. "I didn't risk my life to leave you here." Ethan's mechanical voice glitched, mixing with his human tone. "You don't even know me." "I know what it's like to be forgotten," she said quietly. "Now move." The sound of drones grew louder. Their red sensors cut through the dark like burning eyes. Riva grabbed a metal rod and jammed it into a power conduit on the wall. Sparks exploded, blinding the drones for a second. She fired her plasma pistol, hitting 2 of them cleanly. The third drone shot back, hitting the wall beside Ethan, sending fragments flying. Riva dove forward, shielding him with her body. The drone aimed again, but Ethan moved before it could fire. His metal hand shot out, grabbing the drone's arm and crushing it with surprising force. The machine screamed in static before exploding. For a moment, both of them froze. Riva stared at him, shocked. "You can fight?" Ethan looked down at his hand, smoke rising from his metal fingers. "Guess I still remember how." Riva helped him up. "Then remember faster," she said, half smiling. They ran through the tunnel until they reached a large chamber filled with broken pods, hundreds of them, each one holding remains of failed experiments. Ethan stopped, staring at them in horror. "How many?" he whispered. Riva lowered her head. "Too many. You weren't the first, but maybe you can be the last." He clenched his jaw, anger rising inside him. "They turned people into machines. For peace." His voice deepened, filled with both rage and pain. "Then I'll show them what peace feels like." Suddenly, the ground shook. Metal panels fell from the ceiling. A massive door at the far end began to open, revealing a blinding light. Through it stepped armored guards in exosuits, followed by a tall figure. Commander Vorn, one of the alien leaders responsible for the experiment. Riva's eyes widened. "We're out of time." Ethan stepped forward, shaky but determined. The circuits on his body glowed brighter, merging blue and gold. The energy core Riva gave him pulsed like a beating heart. "No more cages," he said. The commander raised his weapon. "Subject 09, return to containment." Ethan smiled faintly. "Not today." He lifted his arm and a beam of blue light shot out, tearing through the guard's armor. The shockwave threw everyone back and the facility walls began to crack. Riva grabbed his arm, shouting, "You'll overload." "Then let me," he whispered. "I'd rather burn free than live trapped." But Riva pressed her hand to his chest again, channeling her energy into him. "Not yet," she said fiercely. "You still have a world to see." The explosion faded, leaving smoke and silence. Ethan collapsed into her arms, his system stabilizing once more. As she held him, Riva whispered, "Wake up, human. Your real story hasn't even begun." And in the distance, alarms echoed once more because somewhere above them, the galaxy had just learned that a human weapon had escaped. The tunnels shook with the sound of explosions. The air was thick with smoke and heat as Riva dragged Ethan through the emergency passage, their footsteps echoing off the steel walls. Behind them, red lights flashed wildly, and the alarm's robotic voice repeated, "Containment breach. Subject 09 in motion." Ethan's half-metal body sparked with every movement. His breathing was rough, a mix of mechanical hisses and human gasps. "Where are we going?" he asked, his voice broken. "Out," Riva said sharply, glancing over her shoulder, "before they seal the exit." She knew the facility's layout by memory. She had built half of it years ago, but now it felt like a trap designed to crush her. Doors slammed shut behind them. Security drones emerged from the walls, and laser sensors painted the corridors with deadly light. Riva's mind raced. The command center was rerouting power. Every door was locking down. They had minutes at best. She stopped at a junction, pulling a small metallic sphere from her belt. "Cover your eyes," she warned. Ethan didn't ask why. The next second, the sphere burst open with a blinding flash. Every drone in sight went dark, their sensors fried. Smoke filled the hall, and Riva grabbed Ethan's hand. "Run!" They sprinted through the haze. Riva's cloak tore as sparks rained from above. Ethan's legs moved awkwardly, half machine, half man, but his determination pushed him forward. When they reached the end of the corridor, Riva slammed her hand on a control pad. The old steel door groaned open, revealing the surface level, the exit that led to the world outside. But freedom wasn't waiting. Through the broken gate, the alien city stretched far and wide, a maze of glowing towers, floating bridges and skies filled with neon ships. The night was alive with light and motion. Yet Riva knew it wasn't safety. The city's law enforcement would be alerted by now. And to them, Ethan wasn't a man, he was a stolen weapon. Ethan stared at the skyline, stunned. "Where are we?" "Not Earth," Riva said softly. "This is Exiled, the capital of the alliance that made you." Before he could reply, the air filled with the roar of engines. 2 aerial drones swooped down from the towers, scanning the ground below. Their speakers blared, "Target located. Subject 09. Lethal authorization granted." Riva cursed under her breath and pulled Ethan into the shadows of a broken transport bay. "We need to reach the old docks," she said. "I have a ship hidden there." Ethan's human eye widened. "You have a ship?" "Every exile keeps a way out," she replied with a faint smirk. They ran along the narrow walkway, moving between flickering signs and leaking pipes. The drones scanned the streets below, firing plasma bursts that lit up the night. Riva rolled across a bridge, pulling Ethan down as an energy beam missed his head by inches. The shot melted the railing beside them. "Keep your head low," Riva said. "Easy for you to say." Ethan snapped, trying to keep up. "Half of me weighs a ton." "Then use it," Riva replied. "They turned you into a weapon. Let's see if you can fight like one." Ethan hesitated, then looked at the drone chasing them. His mechanical arm clicked and rotated, forming a hidden pulse cannon under the skin. The weapon charged with a low hum. He aimed and fired. A burst of blue energy hit the drone squarely, sending it crashing into a nearby tower. Riva stopped in awe. "Remind me to never argue with you." The second drone screamed overhead. Riva tossed a magnetic mine into the air. It latched onto the drone's underbelly and detonated, scattering pieces across the skyline. For a brief moment there was silence. Only the hum of the city remained. They reached the edge of the industrial district where the lights grew dimmer. Old metal ships lay half-buried under rust and dust. Riva led Ethan to one, small, worn, but still intact. "Home sweet home," she muttered. As they approached, a new danger emerged. From the shadows stepped 3 armored bounty hunters, their eyes glowing red beneath their helmets. "Riva of Exiled," one hissed. "You've broken exile laws, and you're harboring human property." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Property?" Riva stood tall. "He's not property. The hunters raise their weapons. Then he dies." Ethan stepped forward, blue light glowing along his arm. "Not today." The battle was fast and brutal. Plasma bolts tore through the night as Riva ducked behind crates, firing back. Ethan used his strength to block a strike, sending one hunter crashing into a wall. Sparks flew as metal clashed with metal. Riva rolled beneath another's blade, stabbing her energy dagger through the armor. When the last hunter fell, silence returned. Smoke drifted through the air, Riva looked at Ethan. You fight like you were born for this. He breathed hard, staring at the glow of his mechanical arm. I didn't ask to be built for it. Riva opened the ship's hatch. Then let's find a place where you can choose what you are. As the ship lifted into the sky, the city's sirens wailed below. Searchlights scanned the clouds, but the small craft disappeared into the darkness. Riva set the coordinates for the outer belt, the only place the Alliance couldn't reach. Ethan sat beside her, staring out the window as stars streaked by. For the first time in years, he wasn't trapped behind glass. But freedom came with a price, and both of them knew it had only just begun. The hum of the ship was the only sound that filled the small cabin. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, a sea of cold light and shadow. Inside, Ethan sat quietly by the window, his half-metal face reflecting against the glass. His human eyes stared into the void, lost in thought, while the faint glow from his circuits pulsed gently like a heartbeat. Across from him, Riva adjusted the ship's controls. Her hands moved with precision, but her mind wasn't calm. Every second away from the city increased the bounty on her head. Every pulse of energy from Ethan's body risked detection. But she didn't care. For the first time in years, she was doing something that mattered. Where are we going? Ethan finally asked, breaking the silence. Somewhere the Alliance won't look, Riva replied softly. The outer belt, it's a wasteland, no laws, no governments. But it's free. Ethan gave a small nod. Free, he repeated as if trying to taste the word. That used to mean something. Riva glanced at him. You remember that? He frowned, rubbing the metal side of his temple. Pieces, flashes, a ship, a mission. I was part of a team. We were told it was for peace between humans and your kind. We signed the treaty and then... He stopped, his mechanical eye flickering. Then everything went dark. Riva lowered her gaze. They never wanted peace. They wanted control. You were one of the first humans chosen for integration. They said you volunteered. I didn't, Ethan said sharply, his voice trembling. They lied. I remember. Screaming. Machines around me. I was awake during it. He clenched his fists. The lights on his arm pulsed brighter. They said I'd be a bridge between species. But I became a tool. Riva didn't speak. She knew that pain too well. She had watched the Alliance strip humans of their freedom, turning them into living weapons, all in the name of unity. She had tried to stop it once. That's why she was exiled, you knew, Ethan said suddenly. You worked for them, Riva froze. Yes, his voice was cold now. You helped build the thing that trapped me. She turned slowly to face him, her violet eyes shimmering with guilt. I did, she admitted. But I didn't know what they planned. They said it was temporary. A connection of minds, human strength, alien intelligence. I believed them. Ethan stood up, the metal in his body creaking softly. Belief doesn't undo what they did. No, she said quietly. But I can try to make it right. The air between them grew heavy. The ship drifted silently through the stars. Then the console beeped, a warning. Riva frowned and checked the scanner. They've traced us. How? Ethan asked, his tone sharp. Your systems, she replied grimly. They're still linked to the Alliance's network. You're transmitting without realizing it. Ethan's eyes widened. You mean they're inside me? Not for long. Riva opened a storage panel and pulled out a toolkit. Sit down. I'm disconnecting it, Ethan hesitated, then nodded. He sat as Riva gently placed a neural pad behind his ear. The connection sizzled with static. He winced. It'll hurt, she warned. I've felt worse, he muttered. The ship lights dimmed as Riva began the process. She moved quickly, her hands steady but her heart racing. Ethan gritted his teeth as sparks flickered along his neck. Pain surged through his body, half organic, half synthetic. His memories began flashing in fragments. Faces, voices, screams, then silence. I see them, he gasped. My crew, they're calling for help. I left them. No, they left me. His voice broke. They used me as the test subject. To save themselves. Riva placed her hand on his shoulder. It wasn't your fault. His human eye filled with tears. Then why do I remember killing them? Her hand froze. What? I saw it, he said, trembling. They activated the link. My body moved without my control. The system made me... He stopped, breathing hard. I killed my own team. Riva's eyes widened with horror. They forced it. You weren't in control. But it was still my hands, Ethan said quietly. My hands, Riva. The ship shook violently as an energy blast hit its side. Riva jumped back to the console. They're here. Ethan stood, his circuits flaring bright blue again. Then they'll finish what they started. No, Riva said, turning to him. This time we finish them. Ethan's voice deepened, mechanical and human mixing together. Then cut the link. All of it, Riva hesitated. If I do, you might lose your memories. You could forget everything, even yourself. Ethan stared at her, his human side calm now. Maybe that's what I want. Before she could protest, he placed her hand over the neural core at his neck. Do it, he said. Riva took a deep breath. Her eyes locked with his for a long second. Then she whispered, I'm sorry, and pressed the switch. The lights exploded in white. Ethan screamed, half man, half machine, as the signal snapped. Circuits burned, memories faded, and the network connection was gone. When the light dimmed, Ethan slumped forward, breathing slowly. Riva caught him before he hit the ground. He opened his eyes, dazed but calm. It's quiet, he whispered. For the first time, it's quiet. Riva smiled softly, brushing the dust from his cheek. Then your new life begins now. Outside the window, the stars burned brighter, like the universe itself was watching the rebirth of a man who had finally broken free. The silence after the storm didn't last long. Outside the ship, the stars twisted and stretched as Riva's craft drifted through deep space, its engines glowing faintly blue. Inside, the cabin lights flickered, casting long shadows over Ethan, who sat motionless in the co-pilot seat. His breathing was slow, steady, but his eyes were distant, unfocused, as if part of him still lingered in the machine world he had just escaped. Riva glanced at him from the pilot's console. How do you feel? She asked quietly. He blinked as if waking from a dream. Empty, he said. Like I'm missing something. But lighter somehow. She gave a faint smile. You're missing the chain that kept you a slave. Ethan looked at her, the faint blue glow of his eye softening. And now what am I? Riva hesitated before replying. Now, you're a danger to them. Her words were cut short by a warning alarm. The scanner screen flared red. 3 enemy signatures appeared on the radar, closing in fast. Riva's expression darkened. They found us. Ethan turned to the viewport. From the void of space, 3 black ships emerged, sleek and sharp, Alliance hunters. Each one was armed with plasma cannons and tracking drones, built to hunt fugitives like them. How? Ethan muttered. You cut the link. How can they still track us? They're not tracking you, Riva said grimly. They're tracking me. The ship shook as a plasma blast struck its hull. Warning lights flashed everywhere. Riva gritted her teeth, yanking the controls hard. Hold on. The craft dove through an asteroid field, weaving between floating rocks and debris. The hunters followed close behind, firing round after round. Explosions lit the void like blue fire. Ethan grabbed the seat's edge, feeling the vibration of every impact. Can we outrun them? He shouted. Not for long, Riva replied. They have faster drives. Then we fight, Ethan said. Riva turned to him sharply. You just got your freedom. You'll die if you overload again. He met her gaze. Then I die free. Another blast hit the wing. Sparks flew. Riva cursed in her native tongue. There's a storm belt ahead, a plasma vortex. If we go through it, their sensors won't track us. And if we don't make it? She smirked. Then we die creatively. Ethan gave a short laugh. You sound human. I'm learning, she said, pushing the throttle. The ship plunged toward the glowing clouds of the plasma storm. Electric arcs flashed across the view, painting the cockpit in white light. The hunters hesitated for a moment, then followed. Inside the vortex, chaos reigned. Energy waves tossed the ship like a leaf in a hurricane. Ethan's circuits flared, reacting to the storm's magnetic pull. His body glowed brighter, resonating with the energy around them. Riva looked at him in surprise. You're absorbing it. I can feel it, Ethan whispered. It's like the storm's alive. The hunters appeared again, their weapons locking on. Riva pulled the ship into a spin, but one of the blasts hit the rear engine. The ship lurched violently. Alarm screamed. We've lost thrust, Riva shouted. Ethan stood, ignoring the pain surging through his body. Get us close to them. You'll burn yourself. Just do it. Riva gritted her teeth and guided the ship toward the lead hunter. Ethan's arm panels opened, exposing glowing circuits. Energy from the storm flowed through him like liquid fire. He stepped to the rear hatch, his body shining blue and gold. Ethan, what are you doing? Riva cried. Finishing what they started. He slammed his metallic hand against the hatch control. and the airlock opened with a blast of light. Wind and plasma surged inside, but Ethan stood firm, his mechanical frame anchoring him in place. He raised his arm and a massive surge of energy shot outward, an electric storm made of human will and machine power combined. The hunter ships were caught in the blast. One exploded instantly, torn apart by raw force. The second veered off, systems fried. The third tried to escape but was struck by debris and vanished into the storm. When it was over, Ethan fell to his knees, smoke rising from his back. His circuits dimmed and his breathing slowed. Riva rushed to him, pulling him away from the hatch. She shut the door, sealing out the raging plasma. "Ethan, stay with me," she shouted. He opened his human eye, weak but alive. "Did we make it?" Riva looked at the radar. The enemy signals were gone. "Yes," she whispered. "You destroyed them." He gave a faint smile. "Guess I'm good at breaking things." Riva touched his face gently. "You're more than that now." Outside, the storm began to fade. The stars returned, clear, endless, and quiet. But Riva's eyes lingered on the scanners. "The Alliance won't stop here," she said. "They'll send more." Ethan looked at her, his expression calm. "Then let them come." "I'm done running." Riva smiled faintly. "Good. Because soon we'll make them run." As the ship drifted out of the glowing storm, two figures stood together in the dim light, an exiled alien and a reborn human, survivors of a broken alliance. Somewhere beyond the stars, the next battle was already waiting, and this time they would not be the hunted. The universe was quiet after the storm. The stars shimmered like distant fires, and Riva's small ship floated through the calm void, scarred, burned, but still alive. Inside, silence filled the cabin, broken only by the soft rhythm of Ethan's mechanical breathing. He sat slumped in the co-pilot seat, his body still recovering from the surge of power he had unleashed. Across from him, Riva patched a torn wire on the control board. Her hands shook not from fear but from exhaustion. She had seen many wars, lost many battles, but this one felt different. This time she wasn't fighting for duty or rank. She was fighting for him. Ethan's voice came out rough but steady. "How bad is the ship?" Riva sighed. "We're flying on hope and broken metal. But we're still flying," he smiled faintly. "That's good enough for me." She turned to face him, her violet eyes soft. "You shouldn't have done that. You almost burned out every circuit in your body." He met her gaze calmly. "If that's what it takes to live free, then I'll burn 1,000 times. Riva didn't answer. She looked out the window where the plasma storm had faded behind them. Beyond the darkness lay the galactic core, the heart of the Alliance, the same place where they had started it all. And deep in its center, the control network still pulsed, spreading lies to billions. Ethan noticed her silence. "You're thinking about going back, aren't you?" Riva hesitated. "If we destroy the main signal tower, the Alliance loses control over every experiment. Every hybrid like you, every enslaved mind." Ethan tilted his head. "There are more like me?" She nodded slowly. "Thousands. Hidden in labs, forgotten on battlefields. You weren't their only creation. You were just the one who survived." Ethan's expression hardened. "Then we're not running anymore. We end it." Riva looked at him, and for the first time she saw not a broken soldier but a leader. The next hours passed in tense silence. They recharged the core, rerouted power, and armed the ship's final plasma cell. As the galactic core grew closer, its bright light filled the cockpit, a swirl of gold, blue, and white energy. Floating within it was the control spire, a massive structure stretching miles high, surrounded by defense drones and warships. Riva's fingers hovered over the controls. "Once we enter their range, we won't be able to turn back." Ethan's voice was firm. "We're not supposed to." As they approached, the Alliance command broadcast filled the speakers. "This is Central Command. Unauthorized craft, identify yourself." Riva muted the transmission. "They'll know soon enough," she said. The spire's turrets activated, beams of red light locking onto their ship. Riva gritted her teeth. "Hold tight." She dove through the defenses, weaving between plasma bursts. The sky burned with light. Ethan manned the side cannons, firing back, his aim precise. 2 drones exploded in brilliant flashes, but more surrounded them. "Too many," Riva shouted. "Then we make it count," Ethan replied, his tone calm, almost peaceful. He placed his hand on the ship's core interface, linking directly into it. The lights around them flared. Riva's eyes widened. "Ethan, what are you doing?" I can boost the signal, he said. We can send a message. Not just to them, to everyone. Riva froze, realization dawning. You mean, he nodded. The truth. What they did to me, to us. The whole galaxy will see it, she swallowed hard. It could kill you. Ethan smiled softly. Maybe, but if they see what we've become, human and alien together, they'll never forget. Riva's eyes glistened. You'll be remembered, Ethan. I don't want to be remembered, he whispered. I want them to be free. He closed his eyes and activated the core. The ship's lights exploded into brilliance, flooding the spire's network with a pulse of blue-gold energy. Across the galaxy, every screen, every holofeed, every device flickered to life. And there, for all to see, was Ethan's face. Half human, half machine, but alive with courage. They turned us into tools, his voice echoed through the systems. But we were never theirs to own. No matter how much metal they give us, no matter what power they take, we are still free. All over the stars, enslaved hybrids stirred, their minds awakening. The chains broke one by one, but inside the ship the overload began. Sparks burst from the panels. Riva rushed to Ethan's side. You have to disconnect, she cried. He shook his head. Not yet. Just a little more. The spire exploded in a column of light. The control systems melted away. And as the wave spread, Ethan's circuits dimmed. His body fell still. Riva caught him in her arms, her tears falling silently. Ethan, wake up. You did it. His human eye opened one last time. Did they see? She smiled through the tears. Everyone saw. He exhaled softly, his voice fading like a whisper. Then, it was worth it. His hand went still. The light in his chest faded, but outside a new light was rising. A galaxy reborn. Riva placed a glowing crystal over his heart, her voice trembling. Rest now, human. You freed them all. The ship drifted silently as thousands of signals across space blinked alive again. Humans and aliens standing together for the first time. And from that day forward, a legend spread across the stars. The story of the man whose face was trapped in tech but whose soul freed a galaxy.